So there you go. Now you know why I am sitting in my shop on the quad. I got nowhere else to go. It is absolutely pouring rain, huge, major storm coming through. The transportation boat, the ferries linking Vancouver Island to mainland are shut down. They're saying there's 50-foot waves off the west coast of Vancouver Island right now. Is what it is. And holy shit, has the wind and rain been coming through here, sporadic. I can't believe there's still electricity. But it's not gonna stop this, is it? So, got all the animal chores done this morning, and before I carry on doing other stuff, I'm gonna do my morning share of people's voices that need to be heard. This one's titled Almost a 411 Mystery. Dear Steve, this is a true encounter that my mother experienced back in 1930 around the area of Anna, Texas. Back then, most rural farms in East Texas were pretty tucked back into the fields and woods. The families were usually pretty poor and did the best they could to get by. It was in the heat of the summer those days when my mom had the scare of her young life. Back then, no one had an air conditioner. Not many luxuries were a part of most family lives. Windows and screen doors were left open, and sometimes you'd have to wet down towels and lay under them just to be able to breathe at night. No doubt. My mom slept with two of her sisters in one bed in a tiny bedroom. They had all been to sleep several hours when a sound woke her from her sleep. She quickly sat up in bed, and once her eyes focused, she could see in the moonlight this huge hairy thing opening up the screen door and stepping right in. She simply froze as she watched the huge creature walk over and stand at the bottom of the bed. While pulling the sheets over her head, she wildly screamed for her dear life. I'm not quite sure why children think that if they are hidden, all the bad will go away. But it appears to have worked the magic this time. Her dad came running with other siblings in tow, but the creature had already ran back out the same screen door. Mom told her father and everyone what had happened. Her dad got his rifle, and he and the boys took lanterns to search around the house and the barn. But whatever it had been, it was now gone. It was well before everyone calmed down enough to return to sleep. The next day, my mom's dad went to the fields. Siblings left for school, all except for my mom. Her mom had passed away, and it was her duty to stay at home taking care of her baby sister. Baby sister was just 1.5 at the time. My mom sat her outside in the grass on a blanket to play just outside of the kitchen window. She figured she could watch her and wash dishes at the same time. She'd taken her eyes away just long enough to put some dishes away. Then upon looking back outside the window, she didn't see her baby sister. Mom ran out the kitchen window and began to scream for her sis, when suddenly she heard the baby crying. The crying was coming from the direction of the other side of the barn. She ran forward with fearful thoughts. Baby kept crying. Mom raced around the backside of the barn as fast as her 12-year-old feet could take her. As she turned the corner of the barn, there she found the baby sitting on the ground. When she reached for her, she noticed what looked like claw marks on her little arm. They were reddish and bleeding a bit. She looked up all around but see nothing. Quickly she hurried back into the house, latching the doors behind her. Mom was for certain that the huge hairy thing had tried to take little Golden, and when she started crying it wouldn't stop, and then my mom screaming, it must have put her down on the ground and hooked them into the woods. David P. might have been telling little Golden's story amongst the missing 411 mysteries. Mom combed the fields and woods with her eyes, peering out the kitchen window for many days after this, but nothing more was seen of the hairy beast at their farm. However, for about 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, there were sightings in and around the area. Talk of the old man living in the woods. One thing she carried throughout the rest of her life was the knowledge that whatever Bigfoot is or isn't, he is definitely real and still out there somewhere. Thank you for making a place where the people in the know, the enlightened ones, can come together. And as for me, I do not think these are cuddly creatures putting out a helpful hand, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Sincerely, B. Record. And of course, you can speak my name. All right, thanks for that share, B. Appreciate it. That kind of always gives me the creeps when I hear about somebody leaving a child in the backyard even for a minute on their own, or even if you put the child in the backyard and you see it playing from inside the kitchen, that where my mind instantly went was a episode that happened in British Columbia near Quesnel. And it's in a book of what wildlife biologist wrote about bear encounters and bear attacks. And same deal, sunny afternoon, woman had a 3 or 4 year old, I think, in the back, on the back patio. And the back deck was just one of those low decks that came straight into the house. It was what, 1 or 2 steps down to the grass in the backyard off the deck. And she left the child right there in the sun just for a minute, just to go into the kitchen, get a glass of orange juice, and come back out. And when she came back out, all she saw was the average sized black bear with her child in its mouth, just entering the bush line on the other side of the backyard. And the outcome of that was very unfortunate. The child was killed. Shitty deal. That doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen. So for me, I always like to caution people that live rural that that shit happens and that shit can go down. And if you can, if you're forced to, if the children are going to go out and play rurally or small children, leave them in the backyard for a minute, please have dogs. Please have dogs. That's what I would say to Sarah. If we had small children here, I'd probably have 2 or 3 big dogs on the property at all times. And rule number 1 for the children would be that they are not allowed to play outside unless the dogs are outside, off their leash as well. Period. It's just the way it would be with me if I live rural. That sure is a creepy. There's a shit-eating details when how many people have emailed in about seeing one of these damn things walking in the house, standing at the foot of the bed. It doesn't get more alarming than that. I mean, your bedroom, this is your most intimate, supposedly secure, safe place in the entire planet. Should be, right? Inside your home, especially inside your bedroom. It's sacred ground, man. And for something so unknown, potentially menacing and alarming and terrifying to smoothly make its way into a child's bedroom or any bedroom inside your home is pretty freaking creepy. Real creepy, man. People need dogs. People need dogs. Like you said, thank God there's no missing 411 case there, although there's no shortage of them, is there? No shortage of them. Thanks for making that share, I appreciate it. As far as the heat in Texas goes, you know what, I totally get it. I totally understand that one. I remember one time, I think it's probably one of the first couple times I was in the US, I was in a place called Uvalde, Texas in springtime. And being from up here, I could not believe how hot it was. 10 o'clock at night, it was 90-something degrees out. I could not believe how hot it was. Holy. We were on a private hunting lease. These guys that I guided were proudly showing me where they hunt along the Nueces River, the Nueces River. And that fine powdered dirt, sand, dust, dirt, orangey dirt. I just couldn't believe stuff even lived around there. It was so dry, so hot. But you can see the footprints, just living down there, running around in that mesquite. The heat was unbearable for me. We had a big igloo cooler on the side-by-side with a bunch of beers in it, nice. It almost felt like if you got more than 20 yards away from that cooler, it felt like you were in a survival movie in the desert. Oh, it's so hot. I couldn't imagine living down there not having at least air conditioning, right? All right, next in line. Mark that as red. Messed with Our Minds is the title. Hi Steve, new to your channel. Been binge watched about 50 of your videos and realized this is a place where I can finally get something off my chest that I've carried with me since 1986. Thank God. Let her rip. I'm of Aboriginal background and have hunted all my life up to this experience. I and another hunting friend decided to search for a new area to hunt for moose and deer. We both live in Prince George and know all areas within 50 miles of PG, but wanted to see some new country. We hooked up the Jeep to the back of the motorhome and off we went. We wanted to hunt the mountains in the Pine Pass somewhere. Here we go. Very familiar with Pine Pass and very familiar with what goes on around there. We found a perfect spot for the motorhome just off Highway 97, just 18 miles south of Chetwynd. We arrived about noon and disconnected the Jeep and immediately drove up the older trail to see where it would take us. To our surprise, the road was in pretty decent shape as we immediately started to climb up the mountain. We came to several awesome clear cuts that followed us to see in all directions. That allowed us to see in all directions, all right? We were in the middle of one of these clear cuts and decided to hide the Jeep back in the heavy forested area and walk to a good vantage point that was in the middle of the clearing. We were sitting on a knoll. It was about 12 feet above the skidder trail, which we could see through some willows. We figured that we would enjoy a couple of sandwiches and didn't really expect to see anything as we were just through here with the Jeep, just 20 minutes before. It was a gorgeous day and we were sitting with our backs to each other. I was watching the downhill, my partner was watching the uphill. The grade is about 10 to 12% and with small willows, etc. We could easily see 500 yards in all directions. We did see 4 massive bucks come out of a patch of trees that were only 150 yards on the downhill side. And since it was the day before the season opened, we headed back to set up camp and decided we would walk up the same spot in the morning. We figured it would take us an hour and a bit to get there on foot, so we set out an hour and a half before daylight. I have to admit, this is a bit unnerving for me as I like to see my surroundings when I'm in grizzly country, but nonetheless, off we went. My partner had did this hundreds of times and said we would be fine. And he was such a nice guy that he told me if we do come across a grizzly in the dark, he was going to trip me and then run like hell to get out of there. I don't think he got the chuckle out of me that he was expecting. Anyways, we arrived about 20 minutes before shooting light and just sat and listened to all of nature's sounds. Now this next part is very important and needs to be explained. There was no way in hell that even a coyote could be in the vicinity of one of us without one of us seeing it. All animals had nowhere to hide unless they were in that small clump of trees that the bucks come out of the day before. It was uneventful for the first 5 or so hours and was now approaching the time of day that we seen the bucks. There wasn't much wind except for a slight breeze from time to time. It was actually quiet when all at once I could hear a high-pitched buzzing sound, and I thought it might just be my ears ringing. The best way to describe the sound was as if someone put a tuning fork up to my head. I asked my buddy if he could hear it. He said yes. This is when it happened. On the skidder trail right below us appeared, yes, appeared, did not walk there, a dark shape that we could see through the willows. There was literally no way this thing could have walked up on us because we could see 95% of the terrain all around us. We could see that it had hair, not fur, and all at once, it stood up on 2 legs and was staring right at us. I freaked out and said, "What the F is that?" And my buddy shushed me and said, "Don't shoot, but take your safety off and be ready." It stared at us for what seemed like an eternity. It was probably only 30, 40 seconds. Then it dropped back down and let out a scream. A yell sort of sound that was deafening, shook us to our core, made my insides vibrate, and then took 2 or 3 steps. And we should have seen it come out 15 or 20 feet down the skidder trail, but nothing. We did hear that tuning fork sound the whole duration of this, and once it was out of view, the sound stopped. We sat there for another hour or so, and were very concerned that because we did not see it vacate, it was still very close to us, and being ambushed was on both of our minds. After about another half hour, my buddy finally said that he was going to walk around back onto the skidder trail and have a look. I was so terrified that I vomited, thinking I was about to see my friend get tore up right in front of me. It only took him 2 minutes to get to where the creature was, and he held his gun up in the air so that we could estimate how tall this thing was. When his gun reached to about where I remember seeing the top of his head, I told him to stop. I told him that can't be right. I would have to make it over 10 feet tall. He said that the height probably was right, as he knew what it was right from the start, which is why he told me not to shoot. I've had stories over the years about Sasquatch, and I always blew them off as folklore. He said he could clearly see down the skidder trail both ways, and there's no way this thing was still near us. I told him it had to be around us somewhere, as neither of us seen it leave. He then said maybe that sound we were hearing had something to do with it, but we just didn't know. After about 10 minutes of him being down there and looked everywhere, I finally got the courage up to walk down to where he was. The ground was very hard and dry, so no visible tracks, and we were both dumbfounded. I was so shook up from the event that I told him I could not sleep anywhere in the vicinity, knowing what's out there. I wanted to back up and head home. He was a bit disappointed, but understood how I felt and said, "If you really want to leave, we'll leave." On the way home, he told me that he had several encounters with them over the years and went on to tell me about them. After our 3.5-hour drive back home, I now figure that these hairy things are everywhere. We never did speak of this after our incident, and after numerous invites to get back out there and go out for a week at a time, with me declining, he quit asking me. I just couldn't bring myself to get back out there. This was killing me inside because I used to think that I could live in the bush, but not so sure now. We kind of lost touch with each other until about 4 months ago when I ran into him. He convinced me that the sightings are few and far between, and he believes that the Sasquatch just want to be left alone. He told me about your channel, and after binge watching numerous videos, I drummed up enough courage to accept his offer. I let him talk me into another hunting trip, and we just got back a few days ago. And he told me in order to face my demons, we should go back to the same general area and try it again. I can't lie, I was nervous as hell during the week we were there. But after bagging 2 really nice muleys and an immature bull, I felt like I once did before our encounter. He had also told me that he has now experienced these things over a dozen times. I did watch some of your videos that spoke of portals, and it just makes me wonder if this is the reason we didn't see this thing approach or leave, and maybe something to do with the ringing, buzzing we heard the day of. If so, this doesn't make me feel any better, knowing that these things can appear wherever and whenever they want. I don't want to quit being in the bush, and will continue on as normal as I can from now on. I thanked him for getting back out there. I thanked him for getting me back out there. Sorry this is so long, but I felt that it needed to be explained to the T. You can use my full name if you like, because I don't care what people think. Freddie White Eyes. Freddie? Wow. What a thing to witness. I couldn't imagine what it must have been like to see that shit go down. And you know what, I usually travel through Pine Pass, that area, I don't know how many times a year, at least 4 anyway. And you know, once you leave past that gas stop where the turnoff to Mackenzie is, and we start climbing up the hill, and it's like full on, it just has grizzly bear written all over it, those mountains on the right? And once you get up top, and as you slowly start descending down to where you're gonna hook right to end up at Chetwynd, how do you not think about those things when you're traveling through there after you've seen one, right? That country there just has it written all over it. I might, next week I'm gonna be through up there, I think, or next 2 weeks. I might even video document traveling right up through that Pine Pass, and I might go up to one of those logging cuts on the right-hand side as you're going downhill a bit. You can see a couple of those fresh logging cuts on the right in the access road. I might go up there and see how high I can get up there, and I'll do a video from up there, and I'll show everybody that country, because there's so much goes on around there. Well, I guess even right here where I live too. What am I talking about? It goes on everywhere. Maybe it's just more in my mind the Pine Pass areas because I spend a lot of time around there and hunting the fringes of it. I've been hunting north of Hudson Hope, south of Hudson Hope, around Chetwynd, west of Chetwynd, west of Hudson Hope, east of Chetwynd. I've been all around there the past few years a lot. And I'd be lying if I didn't say, if I said I didn't think about those things every single day while I'm hunting alone around there, right? So many people are emailing in from those areas, it's ridiculous, so many. And the appearing out of nowhere thing and the vanishing out of nowhere thing, how many times has that been shared from people around the planet not connected with each other? How many times? Right? How many times? Good for you getting back out there, man. Never quit, never give up. Just don't fear death. Just don't fear anything. Try not to fear anything. You know, it's pretty tough. Those things, seeing those beings can inflict terror through your core. And they do, for most people. And I'll give a blast out to your partner. Thank him for showing you this channel so you get that shit off your chest. All right? It's a safe place to do it. Now, you know you're not alone. You are not alone. What a crazy ass thing to witness. And then being plagued with the rest of your life trying to figure out exactly what the hell is going on. You imagine that? I mean, sure, of course there's gonna be a lot of people out there rolling their eyes. Yeah, right. Who gives a shit? Whether, let's just say, it doesn't matter. Whatever the truth is, do you imagine witnessing that? All you people watching this video right now, listening to that encounter, can you imagine seeing that for yourself? What are you gonna do now, right? Let's just say you did see something like that happen. Now what are you gonna do with it? You imagine? You should be on that remote camping hunting trip with your buddy, two of you sitting there, middle of nowhere, and that goes down right in front of your face. What are you gonna do with it? Right? You know, a lot of people who have been interested in a lot of these topics and thoroughly investigated them and know a lot, they just speak to me of these portals. As a matter of fact, someone, who was it? I forget who was it. Might have been Dave. Were telling me that NASA has been pumping a shit pile of money directly into investigating portals. Right? Because I guess they don't exist, right? That's why they're pumping so much money and investigating them. Anyway, I gotta get my button gear. This might be short, I don't know. I gotta get my button gear. I got a lot to do to get prepared to be able to leave here for a few weeks. And I'll be back. And we're gonna get more voices heard. Nobody's gonna stop it. Nobody. All right, I'm back. Probably looks a little different because my jacket's at different stages of being dry and clean during this video. And as everybody knows, I don't pre-read much, not very often. I go into my inbox, I see that it's a story being shared. Okay, you've got a story that needs to be shared. Experience, I'm gonna copy it, save it in my notes. And then I keep going through. And then I have to sift through the hate mail, the lunatics who are emotionally challenged that feel they need to tell me how offended they are daily. And I skip through those and all the garbage mail and blah, blah, blah. And I don't have time to pre-read all these. You imagine? I just don't. And as a result, sometimes, numerous times, I'll pumping them out here, and I'll take on an email. It's like huge, like say I took on a huge one. Like, okay, here we go. Start reading it, and then I might even be half an hour into it, and then I realize this is absolutely going south. And then it just gets very apparent the person's not well, and it's just a rambling, and it just goes on various tangents that are absolutely not even related to the topic at hand. And then I finally realized, oh shit, I suckered again, damn it. And meanwhile, I lost about a half an hour of my time. So that's what just happened this morning again. It's unfortunate, it doesn't happen that often. Usually it's smooth. Usually I just hammer through the emails from all of you. I'll get 3 or 4 in a row. Perfect. Run in, throw it down, load it up to share with everybody, and then on my day I go. But anyway, so that's why possibly you'll notice things are getting look a little odd, a little different in each one of the story shares. So, back at her. Let's get a couple more out. And there's a little goat right here who has the goat thinks my quad is a mountain. It keeps jumping up, so if it jumps up, oh yeah, anyways, I'm babbling. So what do we got? Red, or this is red. Fear and wonder, my experience. I've watched your channel now for some time, and I've always believed in these creatures, but when you actually experience it, it's hard to fathom. The name is Chiron. Feel free to use it. Let's start with the first encounter, July 25th, 2021, in Northwest Washington, near Mount Rainier. My lifelong friend Jake and I recently started a van trip we planned over a year. We were looking for the nearest Forest Service road to rest our heads. You can sleep for free on Forest Service roads. Traveling 9 miles back in the Olympic Forest, we're officially away from everyone and everything. Alone. With us, at least, we were at first. After making some buffalo spaghetti and eating like a couple of ravaging beasts, I decided to hike a decent ways back up the mountain to where I knew I had service to call my woman and my family. Immediately after the calls, I felt all the hairs stand up on my back. It was an unwelcoming feeling. A sense of dread and discomfort was with me all the way back to camp. By this time, Jacob had been in the van. His girlfriend was with us on this part of the trip. I knocked on the door and told him I thought we should leave. He agreed with me. The camp was already set and it was dark. I didn't want to scare everyone. So I grabbed my bear spray and my torch and every weapon I owned and crawled into my tent. I wished I would have listened to my instincts. I tried reading my book to get my mind off things, but that didn't help. After an hour of sitting and listening, I heard some branches break. And they broke in the most subtle way, like something was tiptoeing around. This thing kept getting closer and closer to my tent. Eventually, it was standing right above me. Each time it took a step, I could tell it was deliberately trying to be quiet. That night I didn't sleep. I got out of my tent immediately at first light, packed up my camp and left. Jacob could tell I was in distress, my face pale, and my bones shaken to the core. Here when things get interesting. The next day, July 26th, we were looking for somewhere to sleep, once again on a Forest Service road. We found a kick-ass spot over the trees and the mountains in the distance. Looking over the trees and the mountains in the distance. Everything felt normal here. There were other people a mile or so away, and people were constantly driving on this road. Playing some chess, Jacob and I decided to watch the moon rise above the mountains. Once the moon got into view, I was trying to get some good pictures. After taking multiple pictures, I realized I had captured something I unintended to. I have 4 pictures of this blue-green orb in the sky. In each picture, it was in a different spot. I thought it wasn't a coincidence, but things changed when I woke up. When we woke, Jake had noticed handprints on the window, 14-inch handprints. It was hard to believe what my eyes were seeing, but after experiencing the night before, I had no doubt that what we had experienced was something very, very sacred and very real. I didn't get to see this thing with my own eyes. Oh, all hooked up. Jacket, there you go. No, I didn't put the jacket on. Sarah did. Oh my God. Sorry. It was hard to believe what my eyes were seeing, but after experiencing the night before, I had no doubt that what we had experienced was something very, very sacred and very real. I didn't get to see this thing with my own eyes, but there is one thing I'm sure of. Whatever it wasn't human. And there's some handprints. Look a little creepy. I'll share these pictures. And just so you know, with the orb thing associated with the moon, it's more than likely it's from your lens. I've done the same thing myself. Okay. Let's get one more out here, and then I'm gonna get on with it. Oh, brush picking on Green Mountain, Washington. Hey Steve, my uncle was always teaching me ways to survive on how to keep food on the table for my family or mine when I got to the age for a family. It was in the late 80s, 1989 if I recall correctly, that my uncle asked me if I wanted to go with him to Green Mountain to the property our family owned to pick brush or sell for quick cash so the family would eat that week. Anytime when I was younger, I'd always get out in the woods, the more deeper and the more I'd be happy being there. But one morning, we started out to the property. It took about 45 to 60 minutes to get there. On the drive out, we both had an uneasy feeling and didn't talk much. That wasn't like us not to talk about the game plan for when we got there. Who was going north or south, east or west. Missing a bit of punctuation here, you guys. I'll try to keep it smooth. We finally got there, packed up for water and lunch, and headed into the woods, about 20 minutes or so. We kept a strong smell from time to time and yelled out for my uncle. You smell that? He said yes, for me to stay put and be quiet, for God's sakes. I didn't know that he went back to the truck to get his .45 cal pistol, then headed my way. He was about 20 yards away from me and I couldn't see him, too thick to see anything around me. And that's when I heard the trees snap and berries being thrown at me. Or so I thought. A rock hit me in the back. As I yelled out, "Stop throwing shit at me, that hurt like hell." My uncle said, "I'm not throwing anything at you." Then the ground shook like I've never felt before. I've been around when you spook up a deer and you can feel the ground shake a little bit. This was like 800 or 900 pounds running at you. And you can't see which way it's coming at you. I was 13 years old at the time and I was scared shitless. All I can remember is the voice of my uncle saying, "Run back to the truck, I'll meet you there." Well, I got to the truck and my uncle got there just after I did and we got the hell out of there. Steve, even if I didn't see it, I felt it and was threatened by it. I know what it was. I've been back there since that day. I figured if they want them berries, they can have them. Thanks for your time and reading this email. Use my name. I don't have to care. Tyler. Tyler Fur Trader? Oh, Tyler Fur Trader Galbraith. Okay, Tyler, thanks for sharing, man. You know, the first berry picker to have the shit scared out of them, that's for certain. So many, you guys. So many people. So many people. One more. One more with my co-host sitting on her perch in the front of the quad. Bigfoot Experiences, Jack Herman. August 25th, 2021. Dear Steve, my name is Jack Herman, which you can use if you air this email. I've been following you on YouTube for years. Please continue your giftful contribution to those that need the help because of their experiences and fear. Great job. Like you, don't fear the dirtbags, government, or people who mock or make fun of us. I'm 75 years old and combat veteran, Vietnam 66-68. If Viet Cong couldn't kill me in a year, I don't fear too much. Maybe just lucky. I sent you a couple of emails years ago. I'm not sure if you read them. I hunt and fish in quite a few places. East Coast areas, mostly Wyoming, South Dakota, being further west, Ontario, New Brunswick. North New Jersey sucks, sort of trapped here. My experience in the bush have only been vocalization, whoops, and mostly structures, footprints, stolen items where I know there are not any hunters or fishermen for miles. But a couple of very nervous guides suggested we should leave. These days, some experiences were in the late 90s, others as early as 2015, 2016. Back then I was somewhat a skeptic about Bigfoot. In my mind, a mystery. As I got reading and listening to your show, How to Hunt, some others I come to the conclusion that thousands of people could not be wrong. One thing that boggles my mind is possible connection to aliens. I know DNA proves human and women plus unknown are like male genes are present. I know you know how predators react without warning, bears, wolves, and cats. What are your thoughts on Bigfoot's ability to give a sense of doom or warning to the human mind when they can't even be seen? Or if someone observes one 500 meters away through a 12-power rifle scope and they turn around and look directly at the person with the gun. A lot of sightings in the 70s in southwest PA plus Ohio where a lot of UFO reports came from. Also their ability to vanish into thin air. Portals? Interdimensional? The diet seems to consist of many things but raw meat and deer and elk. Innards seem to be the top priority, also from animals like pigs and chickens. Well, I could go on and on, but your opinion would really matter to me. Also, our government knows the truth about Sasquatch people. Mount Helena, for example, special ops teams killing them. I've also hunted large wilderness tracts off land in PA. When I lived there, certain areas where game was plentiful. Whitetails, bear, and turkey slowly became depleted over 2 or 3 years. Very odd. Structures were found close by. I know you're inundated with thousands of emails, but if you get a chance to write back or even a brief text would be great. I envy your job, but I'm too old now to even think about it. And maybe in another lifetime. Sometimes I think I lived back in time hunting and trapping with the tribes. Thank you, Steve, for what you're doing, and stay safe, and God bless. Yes, good hunting, Jack Herman. Jack, thanks for your email, man. Appreciate it. And, what are my opinions? What are your thoughts on Bigfoot's ability to give a sense of doom or warning to the human mind? I don't know. I haven't quite figured that out yet. I You've been in combat in Vietnam. You know all about our sixth sense and intuition, guaranteed. You know when something doesn't feel right. We all have it, every single one of us. Is it them that can directly make us feel that? Or is it the energy that they give off, the plane, the dimension they be on, or shipping back and forth from? Does that ignite a chord in our sixth sense that we are absolutely oblivious to? Does that sound smooth? What I think I'm trying to say is there obviously it's not too hard for us to think that they are doing this intentionally every single time. But there is something confusing about that to me. Why would they do that? Why even bother? Now there is a possibility, if I can get this out smoothly, is there a possibility that the energy that they give off strikes a primal chord within our core, a chord that used to be absolutely in tune with warning us of these potential beings or other beings that are existing on that energy plane? Did I get that out smooth? You see what I mean? Is that a possibility? Maybe. Because I don't understand why something so superior to us in the elements would feel the need to give off that absolute terror to us directly. Why do they need to do that? We can't do shit to them. Now, is it a possibility that it's just a chord within our intuition, our naturally built sixth sense, our defense mechanisms? Is it just that rare chord that we used to be in tune with when it came to these beings and others that gets struck hardcore and it freaks the living shit out of us, terror to our core, because we absolutely do not know where it's coming from or how to deal with it? Maybe that's a possibility. I don't know. It's confusing, but I do believe if we do stay focused and keep going, we are going to figure it out. You can't quit. That's the key. Anything in life, you don't quit. I don't quit. I will not quit until we get the answers and the missing pieces to this puzzle in place. I'm not going to quit. And as long as everybody keeps writing into their experiences and throwing down the knowledge experiences, we can slowly start putting together and start to make sense of it, more sense of it, right? And learn more. It's crazy. So anyways, on that note, I gotta head in now and carry on. We'll keep the wheels turning. Everybody start thinking for themselves. Everybody taking the information that's being shared and try to figure this shit out. And whoever thinks they may possibly have completed a serious piece to their puzzle, if you would, share it. Okay? Share it. There's a lot of puzzles out there that need to be completed.